Hi, I'm David Mantia, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me this week are Jeff Reinke and Anna Wells. We're the editors of Manufacturing.net and Industrial Equipment News, and we each have more than 20 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Every week, we take the 5 most popular stories on our websites and discuss the implications they have on the industry going forward. Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, David, or Anna at IN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. We're also live every Thursday, so subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine so you can get a notification whenever we go live. And whenever you're there, just give us that thumbs up. That really helps us out a lot, as we are fighting that ongoing battle with personal algorithms. Jeff, how are you doing this week?
Good. I've been fighting the algorithms all week, and I feel pretty good about it.
That's good. You're coming out on top this week. I think it's going to be all right. Anna, how are you doing algorithmically or otherwise?
I just let Jeff fight my algorithmic battles.
Well, he's their
seems
cyber
to be
guy.
working. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I mean,
On
like,
it.
yeah, he's got it, like double factor authentication, and I think we're good.
Double factor Jeff. Didn't we try to give you that nickname?
Oh, two-factor?
Two-factor Jeff.
No.
I would say, like, as far
Still slaps.
As far as nicknames go, that one has fizzled. But we could get it etched on our new Champions pint glass that we received for softball this year. I mean, they should be personalized. It was funny. I was just joking about etching them, like with the team name and date. And one of our teammates was just like, well, then you can't wash it in the dishwasher. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. My bad.
That's the key point.
I had no idea. Well, before we get started with our first story this week, we have a word from our sponsor, Workday. This episode is brought to you by Workday. Start future-proofing your talent strategy today. Discover how a 4-part framework can help manufacturers move beyond a siloed, static approach and overcome labor shortages to build a flexible, agile workforce. You'll learn how to grow internal skills and talent mobility, flex to appropriately fill gaps, hire the right people at the right time, and augment with IT to unlock more value. Prepare your workforce for whatever the future holds and download the Manufacturer's Guide to a Future-Ready Talent Strategy. The link to download the report is in the body copy. The link to download the report is in the live chat. Our first story this week: the pros and cons of smartphone bans in manufacturing. A new article from Kevin Turpin, CEO of Weavix, says one-size-fits-all smartphone policies often create more operational problems than they solve. Manufacturers can get caught between legit safety concerns and real communication needs. He suggests that broader distribution of appropriate communication tools rather than restrictive policies typically lead to improvements in productivity, safety, and workplace culture. So, he thinks the future of manufacturing communication lies in purpose-built solutions that enhance rather than restrict worker connectivity. These are communication based off of a hybrid approach that include zone-by-zone policies and smart radios. Now, notably, Weavix makes the Walt smart radio system, so there could be a bit of self-interest here, but the article sets the table with stories of operators missing alarms because they were scrolling social media with earbuds in. One in particular talked about a worker missing a routine maintenance alert, which became a catastrophic failure with several metal parts being ejected at hundreds of miles per hour, 3 weeks of downtime that came afterwards, and a hefty replacement bill of $350,000. The worker was sent home and fired due to negligence and was actually fortunate to avoid injury. Jeff, we've seen this before, this tug of war between workers, management, and their personal devices. When you think smartphones on the plant floor, are you more pro or are you more con?
I think I'd fall on the side of being more pro. I think it really depends, though. I think one of the things that the article brought out is that it's not a one-size-fits-all type dynamic. You really can't go across the board. And I think even within a facility, depending on where you work within that production plant, it's going to depend. I think it's going to be different in the warehouse than what it is on the line and what it might be in some different assembly areas or what have you. So I think it's very difficult to say, do this, don't do that. This is the one catch-all solution. I think it's something that, honestly, it's a cultural thing. It's also something you need to look at your people and make sure, how are they going to work best? Some people having those earbuds in and doing their thing, they're going to be more productive. For other people, it's a huge distraction having that phone there. So I think it's empowering supervisors and managers to make good decisions there. Also, I think this is something that comes out on the hiring process. You know, I mean, we have this unique cultural dynamic right now, or social dynamic, where everything is on your phone.
Yeah.
You know, you guys bring your phones in here. I don't.
Yeah.
You know, we're in different situations, though, in terms of kids and what we have to keep on track of and stay on top of in the course of a day. That's okay. It both works, right? Nobody's, you know.
I can put it down. I can put it down anytime, man. I can leave it at my desk. No problem.
Sure. But you don't have to.
Fair.
Is my point.
Yeah.
So I think we can figure these things out as opposed to putting a mandate across it. I think when people do get distracted by these devices, it's more on them as individuals than sort of a corporate policy or a safety policy.
Yeah.
Safety is unique regardless of the facility. Safety is different in a food plant than it is in a warehouse. It's different in a chemical facility than an automotive facility. Everything is unique there. So taking all of those factors into play, as well as, again, addressing this during the hiring practice and saying, okay, we either do this or we don't do this. And I think that's going to impact whether that person wants to work there. And that's okay.
Yeah.
If they can't be off their phone, if there is just an anxiety or something that comes with them having to have their phone on them and the job does not allow for that, then you know this isn't the right fit and you go forward there. So it's knowing the people in the situation.
Well, and you set those expectations, but if you do try to make a policy shift, I believe I've talked about it on the podcast before, where I've talked to plant managers where, you know, the smartphones became a problem, especially in machine tending applications or machine tending. And so when the workers wouldn't put their phones down, they tried things like changing the Wi-Fi password, and there was an outright rebellion. You know, so it is hard just because I also think when we think of smartphones, there's also this difference like between whether or not it's an essential device and or also a real addiction. And I mean, it's really hard to get people to change their habits with those.
Well, and I think that's and the article talked a lot about embedding the use of these smartphones within the workflow in terms of using it as a communication device, a monitoring device. All of those things can certainly help. But again, you can have it there to be a monitor or for communicating between employees, but then there's always going to be the temptation to use it for something else too. So again, it depends on the individuals and the environment.
Anna, in this piece, Turpin says that one of our biggest job site safety liabilities is the challenge in figuring out, or that smartphones are one of the biggest safety liabilities. And the challenge is really figuring out how to maintain operational communication while protecting your people and your bottom line. And at like at Automate in particular, I went to a lot of these smart radio manufacturers and seeing how they have different applications and how they play in manufacturing. I do like the idea of all work-based communication going through these types of devices, because we've seen the ability to transcribe these conversations and those go into maintenance documents because we know how big of an issue documentation is, especially for a lot of maintenance workers. So I like them in very specific applications as well. But I don't know. I feel like I'm going to boomer myself by saying, like, I think sometimes just not having smartphones might be the best way forward.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about two different things here. The example that they use as an illustration was not a person who had a device that was being used to document maintenance procedures or to communicate with their manager. It was the person's personal device. So I think the argument here is not necessarily is it about the personal device or is it about the earbuds, but rather were they distracted, right? And distraction is the biggest key issue here, whatever it may be that's causing that distraction. And are you prone to that? You know, so I agree with Jeff that I think cultural issues here are a big kind of wild card when it comes to how this policy might play out. Like if you establish a clear policy kind of at the outset, but your policy is about, you know, noise muffling or distraction or something that could, like where safety and uptime are a real risk, does it interfere with your ability to hear a machine? And what are the possible repercussions of that?
Yeah, you can't have noise canceling headphones if noise means run.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think I do think that the dedicated policies there need to be very clear. And the reasons for them need to be very clear. Like, hey, somebody could die if you have earbuds in.
Yeah.
Because you can't hear when there's an emergency. Maybe if that's being laid out at the beginning during the training process and making that clear for the person that it's not an issue of like you're casually thumbing through or listening to music or whatever. I mean, that's like... That's not defendable in so many different applications. Like if you're a lifeguard, if you're, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different things you can't be doing. Yeah. So just not just downtime, but the personal safety aspect of that as well. And I know the author is trying to make a point around, something like smart radios could bridge the gap. But again, I just don't think that is functioning in the same way for these workers as somebody who has their phone and they're scrolling through it for other reasons, right? So, but I agree with you, Jeff. Like there's going to be people that, if the policy is no phone whatsoever, will choose not to work for you because they can't, be unreachable if their kid calls or they care for elderly parents or who knows. I mean, all kinds of reasons.
Well, and you could still have a policy where like there is an actual, line that you can call to make sure you get a hold of an employee. I mean, that's normal where you can call the place of business, say, hey, I have an emergency for X worker, and they'll come and get that person.
Yeah.
And I think that's reasonable to offer. Like, I also think that a lot of this, when Jeff talks about how a smartphone is so many different things for everybody, I think about when I particularly think about these phones in shops, I think about how, everyone had a radio on their toolbox when I was working in the shop, right? That's not a thing anymore. Everyone's streaming something off of their phone. So I can see how easy it is, how slippery of a slope it is just to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to use my phone for Spotify. I'm just going to like stream my podcast or whatever. I can see how like it can go from like it was supposed to be that to then all of a sudden you're scrolling just for a minute.
Yeah, but if you are clear at the outset and you say that if we catch you watching Netflix on your phone when you're machine tending, that is a fireable offense.
Yeah.
There is a zero tolerance policy. There's no strikes.
Yeah.
Then I think people will, take that a little bit more seriously than if you just kind of let it be what it is and then you get mad because there's downtime later. I mean, you can't do it that way.
Well, and some of the tier ones are doing this as well. As he mentions in the article, GM prohibits employees from using smartphones while walking anywhere in their facilities, not just in factories and warehouses, but also in office buildings. And I mean, it seems like a funny video that you see on Instagram of somebody on their phone walking into a wall, but that's a real safety risk, especially in a manufacturing environment. He also mentioned how this applies to everyone, including the CEO, and exists because the company believes the phone takes away attention from potential hazards. They did say, and we've kind of mentioned this too, but like just best practices when you're trying to implement some of these policies, make sure you set expectations, make sure you document the policy and enforce it, and you got to lead by example. And it's just so critical to not have any sort of special cases. It's got to be all in. With something like this. All right, our next most popular story. Hypersonic spaceplane promises delivery in 1 hour anywhere on Earth. Inversion is an aerospace and defense technology company that promises to deliver cargo from space to just about anywhere on Earth within an hour. Inversion created the Ark, a space vehicle capable of withstanding hypersonic re-entry and landing softly to ensure safe delivery and reuse. Ark features a bay that can store just about any payload, and they are warehoused on a satellite platform that keeps Ark vehicles in constellation while in low Earth orbit above each customer's point of operations. When the Ark is called down, it autonomously flies through the atmosphere before parachuting to the pickup spot. The Ark could start flying as early as next year, likely for national security and defense missions. The company believes that nearly every commercial enterprise or government partner could benefit from having a global logistics network in low Earth orbit. Jeff, do you see a future with like an international Amazon space station with prime delivery to anywhere in the world in 60 minutes or less?
I don't know.
That means you can see it. You can see it.
Well, that's so far, but that's not their business model right now. Yeah. That's where I struggle with that. Well, I mean, sure. Yeah. Bezos could put pretty much whatever he wants to in space right now, right? That's what Blue Origin is going to be all about. Yeah. So, yeah, at some point, if they've got their distribution center on the moon and they want to drop one of these things from there, yeah, but that's who knows how far away. And that's where I struggle with this whole dynamic. This Ark is an incredibly cool vessel, okay? To be able to sit in low orbit and then shoot down to wherever it needs to go, but you have to preload it. And that's the part I struggle with. I don't really get how you can do that. They're talking about military applications. Every military mission is unique.
Yeah.
I understand you want to say, well, we can put medical supplies and we can put ammunition or whatever in there. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really struggle with the business model in that perspective. I understand this is the first step potentially, but we're so far. It feels like this is a weird first step, kind of. It just feels out of place to me. I don't know how we can use this.
A little too futuristic.
Well, again, I think first you need to put the supply next to the vessel in order to deliver it. I don't know how you can start with the vessel itself. I'm not sure how this is going to work.
Well, that's where I started. I thought this situation posed a very unique thought exercise, right? Like, think about what components, say you could only stock 10 things on this satellite constellation that could be loaded into these arcs and then shot to you. Like, what would make your top 10? And then if anything, after this thought exercise, make sure you have more of those on hand. Just because there are a lot of things out there, especially for these global operators that, seconds mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, I could see that potentially fitting a need rather than having these on-site warehouses. I don't know. Anna, where do you stand? You are in tune with the distribution market.
Yep. I also love space.
And you do love space. Just what a crazy juxtaposition. Your love for everything space and expertise in the distribution market.
Yeah, I guess I'm with you. I don't really understand how this would work. So they want to be positioned above the customer's operations. That's what it says, right, from this satellite platform. But if you're using hypersonic technology, you can be also next to it for pretty far away to get there within an hour, right? How far away could you be if you did a hub and spoke with hypersonic?
Yeah.
You can get a lot of places within an hour, I would think.
I think the idea
why
is
we got to be in space.
Yeah, well, because it's right. So it's right above you. So that way maybe it's easier to restock.
Why would it be easier to restock space?
That's where I'm coming from.
It would not.
I understand you're not just firing a ladder up there. I don't know how we're restocking this thing.
And it's just stocked full of robots and it just seems like a.
It just seems very inefficient because you have to guess what you're going to need and put it up there. And you're talking about components, stuff changes on a monthly basis. So you have to bring it down, restock it, put it back up there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think, well, first of all, that's really cool. But second of all, also incredibly niche. Maybe not as niche as we think, though. Could this be more cost effective? You were talking about the battlefield. We've been talking about 3D printers in the battlefield. Aren't there a top 10 things that could be sparked? No?
No, in my opinion, no. Because like I said, every mission is unique. And the other thing the last thing you want when you're out in the field is more stuff to carry.
Well, yeah, this one.
So a 3D printer, if you need a firing pin or if you need something else that you can just create, that means you're going to make one.
Yeah.
And you're good.
Yeah.
You don't need all this extra stuff that's going to be in the Ark that you need to then go to those coordinates, pick it up. Hopefully, it's in a safe location where you don't get in trouble trying to retrieve it. Logistically, it's not, to me, the way they presented it, it's not there for me.
Yeah.
I don't
see
it.
Talking about not carrying things, though, there could be things where you just give your location and it comes and drops it.
And this very subtle space plane.
Yeah.
We already do that with helicopters, though.
Yeah, but not from the other side of the world.
why would we need it to come from the other side of the world?
If you could,
Like,
that 3D printer could be anywhere.
True. Well,
can
I also
carry
thought,
that.
like, you could also have this for life and death situations. Like, if there is something, I don't know, like a defibrillator or something else that you would need to get somewhere in a life or death situation. You know, I was talking about some other applications in aviation. Sometimes there are simple off-the-shelf parts that do keep a plane grounded, and it could be up to $150,000 an hour. I was thinking offshore oil and gas applications in remote areas.
But why does it have to come from space? I think that's what we're.
Because it can. And like,
But
think
just
that's where-
because it can does not mean we need to
I
do
think
that.
that's how they make up the time. You know, you look at the fastest drone in the world right now, it goes like 320 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. So to have it there in an hour, I get how it's positioned above and dropping down, but how do you keep that updated? How do you keep that supply right to meet all these evolving situations?
Well, and
that is an interesting part of the story that we definitely got to figure out is like, how do you restock it? I mean, maybe you just
efficiently and effectively.
Well, maybe. So are the arcs pre-stocked, and so then when it's down, you restock it with everything and then send it back up?
so you just call and you're
what I
like,
understand.
"Hey, I need a defibrillator," and they're like, "We have, like." I don't know. We have a breathalyzer and we have like some fasteners. I don't know. Like
No, well, like they're
we have a pin. We have one pin.
Yeah, their use cases that one pin that you need from that one manufacturer, that manufacturer could get it to you from on the other side of the globe in 30 minutes.
Okay, but I also like, is it just because hypersonic is not legal on Earth right now that like, because if we had the hypersonic technology, just a plane can do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I don't get. Like
why does it have to be in low Earth orbit when it can just take off
from
Wichita?
When you think about the route, though, okay, it's got to go up, over, down. Whereas if it's in low Earth, it could be positioned to drop down.
To bring you.
So that's why it can be quicker that way.
I guess, but I just like, so you could cut your distribution footprint by kind of a lot if you use a hypersonic plane to fulfill these like very sudden needs for, I don't know. I'm not there yet. I think Jeff's not there yet. I also feel like it could easily get out of control and turn into like, you know, that we covered a story once about how like municipal area in India was testing out like everything within 15 minutes or something from Amazon.
Yeah.
And how distasteful that was to me, that suddenly becomes like something that we think that we need.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See, that's not this. I mean, that could be what this thing leads to. That's why I jokingly said, like, I mean,
I know that's not what it's doing.
I know,
now,
but I mean, we're literally talking about in later stories in the podcast about, you know, going to the moon and, you know, setting up operations there, going to Mars. I mean, like the idea of having this like central Amazon warehouse distribution center in low Earth orbit that could ship things that were like, again, life or death, mission critical, whatever, anywhere in the world in 60 minutes or less. I don't know. Like, I think, again, in the future, there could be a need for that. Could be. I get it. You know what? I'm not selling you. Not going to turn you guys.
Nope.
We're also not turning Void King, who says, bro, I hope this is either AI fake news or a scam because this is some dystopian expletive deleted.
Beep.
But good work on it, though. So, I mean, I feel like he's part of the way in. But no, I don't know. I think sometimes, you know what, if this was a hypothetical that was being developed as like a study in a university, I think it would be a little bit more, okay, I could see how this could eventually be a future that we're headed towards. But I think like this particular application right now, we don't see an immediate need.
Yeah, well, I agree. And, you know, Jeff, in your thing that leads to the thing, you know, scope that you like to discuss, like what interests me when I read about this company Inversion is the Ray, which is mentioned in the article as being like their first iteration.
Yeah.
They said Ray was conceived to validate key technical subsystems that could be used in future vehicles like ARC as quickly and inexpensively as possible. And they say that every system on board Ray was developed in-house by a team of just 25 people for under $1 million. So I think their go-to-market is like, hey, we can develop space-ready technology that's reusable for a lower cost on a quicker time scale that's scalable. So there is something to that for sure. The application that's being laid out here, I think is kind of silly.
Yeah. All right. Well, our next most popular story, Nestlé cuts 16,000 jobs as part of an intensifying cost-cutting campaign. Last Thursday, Nestlé said it's going to cut 16,000 jobs over the next 2 years. The Swiss company initially wanted to cut $3.13 billion by the end of next year. Now, they're shooting for nearly $4 billion. $3.76 billion to be exact. The company has battled personnel issues. Last month, if you remember on the podcast, Nestlé cut ties with CEO Laurent Fresh after an investigation into an undisclosed relationship with a subordinate. Company chairman Paul Bulk also stepped down, but now Nestlé is grappling with rising costs and U.S. tariffs, and it has already raised prices due to higher coffee and cocoa costs. Nestlé is cutting 12,000 white-collar positions to save $1.25 billion by the end of next year. The company will also cut 4,000 in its manufacturing and supply chain operations. Philip Navratil, a longtime Nestlé executive and the new CEO, said, quote, "The world is changing and Nestlé needs to change faster." Anna, the world is changing, and it has been changing. Are these cuts more reactionary, or is this part of Nestlé's digital transformation?
Well, it could be both, right? I mean, that's the speculation anyway. So CEO Navratil said the company will be ruthless in assessing talent as it looks to cut costs.
Yeah.
Some analysts are looking at the role of automation as being influential in this decision. So reports are pointing to Nestlé's claims that it is already using AI for a number of company functions, including its R&D. According to CNN, its latest annual report also pointed to the firm's use of advanced analytics and automation for activities around promotions and marketing. And on an investor call, Navratil had talked about how aggressive marketing and investment in these individual businesses was very important to Nestlé's strategy going forward. But I also read a recent report in CNBC that I thought was interesting because we essentially made the same argument recently. It was about how companies have been slashing staff in and saying that it's because of AI and investments they're making in AI and efficiency benefits. Employees are getting spooked kind of by this. But, if you look at Nestlé, also Accenture, Lufthansa, we talked about, yep. Salesforce, Duolingo. All these companies are saying, like, we're cutting our staff because of our use of AI.
Yeah.
So this article interviewed Fabian Stefani, who's an assistant professor of AI at Oxford Internet Institute. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Internet Institute.
Yeah. I went to the School of Internet.
Yeah. So Fabian Stefani was talking about how previously there was some stigma attached to companies using AI, but now companies are actually using AI as a scapegoat to take the fall for challenging business moves that they think they might otherwise be blamed for, like layoffs. Mm-hmm. So in the interview, he said, "I'm really skeptical whether the layoffs that we see currently are really due to true efficiency gains. It's rather really a projection into AI in the sense of we can use AI to make good excuses." So, we had this conversation a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Lufthansa and how companies are essentially positioning themselves as leaders in digital transformation. And then it's very easy for them to couch, the layoffs with this line of reasoning that they're so innovative.
Yeah. We are so advanced. We need to lose 20% of our workforce.
Yes. Well, and it's almost like these gains really have not been realized yet, but they're figuring they'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
And it's just really hopeful, in my opinion. And obviously this expert's opinion as well.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting in the light of the Nestlé story and how AI played a role there, at least according to some of their own reports, their own earnings statements. Whether that's realistic or not, I don't know.
Well, and I think it can be both. And there was a report filed today that I'll get into a little bit, but I want to throw it to Jeff first. Is this, actually posing the same question to you. As we've talked about it, it can be both the reason and the scapegoat, right? Like it can be both like, hey, we are undergoing this digital transformation, so we will lose some jobs, but we also need to trim about 10,000 here, and we're just going to lump that all into AI.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think this is purely a financial dynamic for Nestle. We can talk about AI, we can talk about automation, and I agree. It is a scapegoat in a lot of instances. But I think when you look more closely at this company, and especially looking at it within the dynamic of it being a food processing company, I think it's very easy when you see some of the fluctuations in its stock price, in its annual sales numbers over the last 5 years. It's a bit of a roller coaster. It's been up and down. And I think you get into a pattern then where, number one, you're thinking we're a food company. People are always going to want chocolate and coffee. I'm oversimplifying. Nestle does more than that, but those are their core brands, if you will, or core products. So those are always going to bounce back. And then when they don't, then you get stuck because you really have to look at something more than just sales. You have to look at profitability. We know how tight margins are for food companies, okay? Especially even global ones like this. Now, 16,000 people, that's not even 10% of their global workforce.
Yeah.
So while that is a dramatic number to us, to Nestle, probably not a huge dynamic in terms of trying to cover for those individuals that they're losing. Let's be honest. Especially if there's been a little bit of maybe overstaffing of certain positions because they could in the past because it wasn't being evaluated as closely. So I think when you look at that, I'm more concerned about the 4,000 in the supply chain and manufacturing and where they're going to come from. Because and they did mention tariffs here, which sort of fits in that same dynamic as AI in terms of being a scapegoat at times, except here, it could be very real. Yeah. Some of the tariffs when you look at where a lot of the cocoa and a lot of the coffee is coming from, those countries are being hit with some pretty steep tariffs right now. So it's going to be, in my opinion, an interesting case study in terms of where these layoffs come from within those 4,000 in manufacturing and supply chain. Yeah. Are they coming from those countries, again, because they're going to be reducing manufacturing there because of the tariffs coming into the U.S., and the number of products there? Are they going to, how many U.S. manufacturing employees are going to be hit? Yeah. Are they going to be spared from this because it is more of a global thing? I think it'll be very interesting because we see a lot of different stuff going on right now. GM just issued a report saying the tariffs aren't going to be as bad as we thought. Yeah. Still going to hit, but they're like, it's probably only 35% we overreached by a bit. It's not going to be as bad as we thought. Yeah. So is that what's going to happen here? Once they dig in, are they going to see, no, it makes more sense to target, employees in Central America and South America, or will it be more widespread? I think like I said, interesting case study potentially just on the tariff impact too when it comes to job cuts.
Well, and Nestle recently sold a bunch of their confectionery business to Ferrera. And right now, a quick search just said their global workforce is around, before the cuts, 277,000. So it is not a lot. It's still a lot. But I wasn't focusing so much on that 4 in manufacturing, but the 12 in white collar. So today, according to a report that's actually yet to be filed to food manufacturing, it's still in the works, so you're getting the breaking part of it. Nestle actually just completed the first phase of this major upgrade that it is making to its, quote, global digital core, right? So this effort is the world's largest ever SAP upgrade, and Nestle says it's going to enable AI and automation at scale to provide better insights and improve decision-making and processes across the company. So, according to Nestle, this upgrade, this digital transformation, makes the company more efficient and helps it roll out new products globally faster to meet the needs of its customers and its consumers. I thought that this was, let's just say, a well-timed news that came out of Nestle, especially when they're talking about the automation and improvement of processes across the company's business operations, talking about using this SAP AI Copilot directly in core business systems to help employees access insights, automate routine tasks, make faster and more informed decisions. It's also going to help Nestlé better respond to changing consumer trends and retailer needs and improve efficiency in areas like supply chain management, procurement, order fulfillment for retailers, and investment prioritization. So I think that in their corporate speak, they kind of laid out where some of those changes were coming as a result of this digital transformation, and we'll see if it works. Like SAP said that it was the largest scale upgrade that they've ever done before. So, and I don't know, I thought it was pretty incredible and kind of shed a little light on, okay, yeah, we're going to use AI, but we're doing the AI. We got it. See? A little bit. You skeptical of it?
Well, we'll have to see.
We shall see.
Yeah, I mean, these SAP implementations, that's going to take like 5 years.
No, they just turned it on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
That's the way it works.
Yeah, no, it was. I'm pretty sure they hit the switch today, and that's why they're like, all right, let the world know.
Yeah.
I bet our readers would definitely have some horror stories when it comes to some of these implementations, especially when you're looking at like an SAP. Man.
When I've talked to the company, it sounds like it's always golden.
Oh, I'm sure for them it is.
Yeah, and whenever I talk to the carefully curated people they allow me to talk to regarding using their situation or their solutions. All right, well, our next most popular story this week. Faulty engineering led to implosion of Titan Submersible headed to Titanic wreckage, according to an NTSB report. Last Wednesday, the National Transportation Safety Board issued a report that said faulty engineering led to the implosion of the experimental Titan Submersible, which killed 5 people as they descended towards the Titanic's wreckage. Everyone on board the submersible died instantly while they were in the North Atlantic, as Titan suffered a catastrophic implosion, and the NTSB says faulty engineering of the Titan, quote, resulted in the construction of a carbon fiber composite pressure vessel that contained multiple anomalies and failed to meet necessary strength and durability requirements. This is according to a report from the AP. It also said that OceanGate, which owned Titan, failed to adequately test the vessel and was unaware of its true durability. The report also said that wreckage could have been found sooner had the company followed standard guidance for emergency response, and that would have saved, quote, time and resources, even though a rescue was not possible in this case. The NTSB recommended the Coast Guard commission a panel of experts to study submersibles and other pressure vehicles for human occupancy and implement stiffer regulations. The report called on the Coast Guard to, quote, disseminate findings of the study to the industry, which has grown significantly in recent years as privately financed exploration has grown as well. Jeff, I know you're typically not the regulation guy, but can't we agree that this industry could be slowed down with stiffer rules and regulations and everyone might stand to benefit?
Yeah, 100%. And I think I took a little bit of issue with NTSB saying this was an engineering issue. In my opinion, it's not an engineering issue. It's an application issue.
Yeah.
This engineering was not set up to withstand the demands of this type of use.
Yeah.
That's very clear when you look at the research and the information that was available. The fact that if you looked into I just don't even know how somebody could get on board. I'm not trying to victim blame. This was a horrible tragedy. But when you look at the fact that it only had a 14% success rate in terms of dives actually getting down that low because of all of the challenges associated just with the environment, but then also with this particular vessel. It's a miracle that as many of them made it back down and back up safely as it did. They talked to, you're going to talk about some of the stuff like on Netflix and some of the other documentaries that are out there.
Yeah.
When they talk about the form that people had to sign to get on this thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of red flags. And like I said, I'm not blaming that on the victims here, but it raises the issue that you just brought up in terms of greater regulation and scrutiny of this. And I think what it takes, and I know NTSB does get into the engineering side of this as well with a lot of their reporting, but when you're counting on the Coast Guard to be the regulatory body here, this is not their foray. This is not where they're law enforcement essentially, okay? Maritime law enforcement. For them to be able to go in and say, well, structurally and from an engineering perspective, when we look at the pounds per square inch, that's not what they do. That's not their core competency. They have some elements of that they understand and can enforce, but not to this extent. When we start looking at these types of vessels, when we start looking at eVTOLs and flying cars and all of this other stuff that gets into a whole other realm of aerospace engineering, there needs to be greater specialization that, like you said, slows things down, brings things into greater scrutiny so that consumers who think they know better actually do know better and actually do have a safer vessel. If we're going to do this, it just takes a whole nother level of appreciation almost and an education to understand this isn't just getting in a submarine. This isn't like when you went out to see the reef. This is a different dynamic. And we've just gotten into this. We cover so much of this technology. It's this mindset, well, we can do almost anything now. Well, no, it's still really hard. So better regulatory bodies or something new to help govern some of this activity.
Well, and I think a lot of it is arrogance. You know, there is a fundamental problem when the engineer or anybody in the room thinks they are the smartest person in the room. No one questions them and they don't question themselves, right? Like, Anna, when I watched both of these documentaries, one of the things that stood out were there were many opportunities to ask questions, just noises that people knew were directly related to as fiberglass is failing and wearing. And those should have been red flags for the engineers involved to test the structural integrity of it, rather than just being like, nope, I ran the numbers, it's fine. And it's just, I don't know, I think that it is a reminder that, how deadly arrogance like that can be sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the owner being unaware of the submersible's true durability, as they put it, is a pretty terrifying statement and speaks to the due diligence that's required with some of these emerging technologies, where we do place a lot of trust in these entrepreneurs and these inventors as being, as you said, the smartest guy in the room, so to speak. And standard regulatory procedures are not adequate because these are not cookie cutter type products. So I think it's a good reminder of why slow and steady needs to be applied to these technologies. You mentioned, eVTOLs as an example. I was thinking level 5 autonomous driving. This is, you're seeing a lot of backlash around like these electric door handles in vehicles because they can trap people inside in the event of a crash. And you get this feeling that maybe not enough people are involved in the understanding of the true possibilities of like a worst case scenario in some of this technology. And we can see based on the NTSB's recommendations here that the cart was being put before the horse for sure, because the stuff that they're recommending is very reasonable and should have been applied at the beginning. And then here you have this product that's very novel, and the people charged with, the protecting those people who use it don't know enough. And I think do regulators know enough, or are they not involved enough? And having to take the word for somebody whose product is like a square peg in a round hole. And so, I unfortunately, we've discussed this at length before, and this is just as an aside, but like gutting regulatory agencies in a time where there's so much like insane innovation taking place. And, you talk about these like single person piloted copters and things, and like jetpacks that you can take underwater, and jetpacks you can take in the sky, and cars that drive themselves and buses that drive themselves, and like all this stuff, the advancements that we're seeing in technology. And I think this is precisely why we hear so many people ringing the alarm over AI, is because this innovation, if it goes unchecked, can sometimes have very undesirable consequences. And so I think people need to just again, slow down, take a minute. Let's get a group together. I know time to market is a big deal for everyone, but there's a reason that we have checks and balances in this process.
I completely agree. When you think of those guardrails, so for you it was flying cars, for you it was AI, and what else did you mention? Autonomous vehicles. For me it was Neuralink. Just as I think that when you're reading these reports, you think of how there are so many companies right now that are doing this, and you're just like, okay, this is great. This is going to be a game changer. You're going to revolutionize the industry. Let's just take a minute. I know that I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but like the rule of the 10th man that started with Israeli intelligence. And really, I'm just taking that from World War Z. I don't really have, that's where it's coming from. But it makes so much sense. We're like, when you talk about that environment where there's the smartest person in the room and everybody agrees with that, the rule of the 10th man is that one person has to play devil's advocate and just be like, let's say fiberglass isn't the best material, or let's say that it's not structurally sound, just to have those questions in place. So that way, maybe you do kind of pause and take a little bit more of a cautious approach. I definitely recommend watching either of these documentaries. So there was Titan, the Ocean Gate submersible disaster on Netflix, and there was also Implosion, the Titanic sub disaster on HBO Max. And it's like this new, remember 20 years ago where there was a blockbuster and there was always like an A and B side version of it? It's like that with documentaries now. Like they always compete. They're like Titan submersible and boom, there's at least 2 big ones that come out. Fire Festival. It's a weird dynamic. But I recommend watching them just because like it is so crazy to see so many people in the room and no one's like hip to that. It's not like passing the sniff test. And some people that are like nobody listens to them. So they interviewed Josh Gates. He was the host of the series Expedition Unknown. He went on a test dive in 2021 with CEO Stockton Rush. And then he made the decision to refuse to produce that episode because he's like, I cannot in sound mind promote, because he's like, I'm going to do an episode on this. And even if one person thinks that this is exciting and I'm going to do it, he's going to feel responsible if that person is injured.
Jeez.
And so it was like an incredible expense to produce this episode. And he's just like, yeah, we got to can it. But I don't know. It's one of those where sometimes, you're a part of a revolutionary technology and it's a great thing. But sometimes you got to be the person in the room that just goes, but wait, not to be a downer.
Mm-hmm.
What if it doesn't work?
Well, there were people saying that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the owner just pushed ahead and
that's true.
Did his own thing.
That's true. All right. Yes, sure. I don't want to
there were not enough
There were
voices.
not enough, but and they like kind of systematically just pushed them out of the company.
Right.
Yeah. Or they left because nobody would listen to them. So you're right. I don't want to. That was a little too much of a generalization. Nobody listened. No. All right. Well, our most popular story this week, SpaceX, quote, behind on moon mission, so NASA to reopen contract. Man, I just hate it when friends fight. Project Artemis has been billed as a journey to the moon, quote, for scientific discovery, technology advancement, and to learn how to live and work on another world as we prepare for human missions to Mars.
That tagline is too long. It's got too much in it.
Right? It's they workshopped it and they're like, that's good.
Wait. Add something about Mars.
Yeah, and Mars. The project has been underway for the better part of 10 years, but has suffered from delays, which, often the case for the space business. Well, Transportation Secretary and NASA Administrator Sean Duffy isn't happy and said that NASA, the company contracted to develop a crewed...
SpaceX.
What did I say, NASA?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. SpaceX. Yeah, that's one they're not happy with. Everything's cool at NASA. He said that SpaceX, the company that is contracted to develop a crewed lunar lander for Artemis, has fallen behind on its delivery timelines. Duffy said Elon Musk's company isn't keeping pace, and NASA can't wait. So the agency is opening contracts for competing bids. Duffy said SpaceX has pushed out their timelines while, quote, we're in a race against China, adding, the president and I want to get to the moon in this president's term, so I'm going to open up the contracts. While this could be an opportunity for companies like Blue Origin, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, now only the 4th richest man in the world, Musk said, quote, Blue Origin has never delivered a useful payload to orbit, let alone the moon. Burn. Anna, don't you hate it when BFFs become frenemies?
Oh my God, I hate it. The burns are getting worse, by the way.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
I mean, we saw this coming, right?
Yeah, it is. But I mean, the fallout has been so spectacular that what I thought it was, it's been above and beyond what I expected.
Yeah. So Elon Musk, since this report, has called Sean Duffy Sean Dummy.
Oh, burn!
He learned that from one of his children in the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
The adults in the room are fighting.
Yeah. He also said that he has a 2-point IQ. So he's not happy with NASA right now.
Sticking with the classics.
Yeah, really good stuff. So I don't know. This is a weird situation. I mean, I do believe that it's fair that NASA can reopen this for bids to see if they can get someone to do it faster. That's well within their right to do so.
Isn't that the whole point of the commercialization of space?
It is.
Yeah.
But I do think there are a few things to consider. One is that these pushback timelines are par for the course when it comes to, this entire project, Artemis, has been one delay after another, related to really every piece of equipment that's been involved in the process because it's a huge, huge deal.
Yeah. I mean, comparatively to the previous story.
Yeah.
Basically everything we're saying you should do to make sure you get it right.
Well, and it's not the type of project where you can just swap a different material because your supplier doesn't have your order on time or whatever, speed up these tests because because we want to.
Yeah.
This is methodical repetition. This is exposure to different materials that you need to make sure that this can withstand space environment. That's a big deal. But I do think it also concerns me a bit that this suggestion is that speed to delivery is the most important element to any acceptable bid. Mm-hmm. I mean, considering that people's lives are on the line.
Yeah.
And they are. I mean, our goal is to send humans back to the moon as a way of winning some type of global competition that
That's right.
But, there's a tremendous amount of risk attached to failure here, right? Especially failure that could claim a life. And I do think it sends a message that we value speed above all else. And does it apply pressure to SpaceX to do it faster and not break stuff? Or apply pressure to competing companies to come up with a way to do it faster? Maybe that's not the best way. And also faster than a company that already has a head start here, just to achieve this arbitrary timeline, that seems like a risky endeavor. If someone's going to just roll in and be like, no, we got this.
Yeah.
But how? So even if they don't take any kind of new bid, I don't think it helps SpaceX to take a very measured and methodical approach when they're being publicly blasted. You know, it just kind of encourages them to hit the gas. And don't get me wrong, agencies like NASA can absolutely hold their contractors accountable for things like cost and timelines. But we do know that stuff gets out of control easily when it comes to Aero, and there is a reason for that. So to put them on blast publicly may not be the right way to achieve your goal here. I just don't know if it's helpful.
Yeah. And I mean, really to fight fire with Kool-Aid or whatever the childish equivalent of that is
Sean Dummy.
Sean Duffy comes out and he's like, we're going to reopen bids. And it's kind of the thinly veiled threat that everyone's just read between the lines. And then Elon's like, yeah, read between these lines, Sean Dummy. And you're just
and he holds up 3 fingers.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That is a good one too.
It is shocking. Jeff, one of the comments on this story just simply said, this story made me smile. But, I mean, maybe they were having a hard day. It was, who knows? But I kind of go back to the spirit of this. The reason that we were trying to privatize some of this business is because things at NASA weren't moving along quickly and were inefficient, right? Maybe a little bit more competition opens up some opportunity and makes things hopefully go faster, more efficiently. And maybe that's the only reason this is happening and for no other reason whatsoever.
Well, regardless of the reasons, I agree with Secretary Duffy here trying to open it up. I think competition is good. Obviously, you need to be aware of a lot of things Anna brought up in terms of rushing to get stuff done. We've had how many safety stories where we're like, this is a situation where it was more about the time then something needed to be accomplished as opposed to the extra time it might take to make sure it was done correctly and safely. So that's a huge deal, obviously. But I think competition is healthy here and potentially giving others different opportunities to come on board here with this human landing system. I mean, it's kind of unique when you look at the spectrum of folks that they could possibly be competing against. And Blue Origin is the one that comes to mind first for Elon Musk. I mean, there's some history there as well.
Yeah. I don't know why that was top of mind.
Yeah. But really, there's some other folks he should be paying more attention to. One of them that I think is very interesting, and I don't know if Rocket Lab would ever want to get into this scope of work. They've been very successful with launching satellites. A lot of different payloads there. I thought of them just because it's a very sensitive payload. When you're looking at different optical equipment, different defense equipment, they've never done anything with people and humans, so that would be new and different in terms of getting them a system, but they do have a very strong record. And if NASA is looking to, widen the path a little bit in terms of who they're looking to work with, that'd be an interesting company to look out for. I think the other one is something we all know is Lockheed. People talk about the United Launch Alliance doing something with Boeing right now, maybe not the best route to go, but Lockheed is already charged with creating the Orion vessel, which is what's going to take them to orbit, where the SpaceX HLS was supposed to take them down to the surface of the moon.
Yeah.
So if you're already doing one craft, maybe you can do the other one too. Might make sense. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out and what impact it has on that NASA SpaceX dynamic, or if there's somebody else we don't know about that could swoop in and potentially offer, again, a competitor to SpaceX, which I think they need.
So, the news came out that Tesla had an earnings call, and Musk came out and somehow was able to navigate the entire call without talking about electric vehicles. As we have sort of seen a slide with some of his companies, do you think ongoing tiffs like this and making statements publicly like Sean Dummy does anything good for his companies?
I think he would have to do something very dramatic for it to really register.
Oh, gotcha.
They're sort of becoming a benchmark. We know who this guy is and how he's going to present himself and how he's going to communicate. How he can elevate that to the next level where people go, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that would take, but it would be more than that, I guess. I don't know. Right. It's not a surprise that he sets his own agenda on any type of meeting or call.
Right. The American people have cultural alarm fatigue. So they're just I can't even hear it anymore. Can't even hear it. It's odd, but I was recently reading I think it was a Time magazine feature on famous dogs with the kids while we were getting haircuts, right?
Famous dogs.
Famous dogs. Going to tie it in. And because one of the famous dogs was this cute dog that was in this spacecraft, I'm like, oh, I've never heard of it. And then we started reading. I'm like, oh, this dog's name was Laika, and it was a Russian dog. And, in the urge to get to space, first, they cooked the dog in the spacecraft because they sent it up there and it overheated. And just as we are trying to win this space race that might only be one party in, I just really think that we need to make sure that as we're moving fast and breaking stuff, that stuff isn't people or animals or anything in between.
David, what was the number one dog?
It was just top dogs in different cultural spaces. There was no number one dog.
It wasn't Airbud.
No, but there was one.
Beethoven.
There was one dog where there was one. It was a photo spread, and it must have been the Emmys from the 50s or 60s, and it's all these people sitting at all these elegant tables, and then Lassie sitting on a table with its paws on the table, and I was just I don't know, it was one of those.
It's nice that they invited Lassie.
Yeah, the kids picked up this magazine and we're reading it while we're getting our haircut, and I'm just this is full of good information. I love this thing.
Mike Rowe from Dirtiest Jobs, he actually has a podcast, and he has an interesting take on that story with that dog.
What's the take? Just
Cliff notes. No, he goes into the background, how they got the dog and what it went through, but he doesn't actually reveal that he's talking about this particular dog until the end. It's actually a really good story. It's well done.
Sounds like a very sad story.
No, it should make you feel proud for the dog and what it was able to accomplish.
I'm
Because
sure
it did
the
a lot
dog-
more before that.
No, thank you.
Send it over. I want to check it out. Actually, I really like Mike Rowe's podcast.
Yeah.
So it's solid. Can't recommend that enough. All right. Before we jump into In Case You Missed It, we have another word from our sponsor, Workday. This episode is brought to you by Workday. Start future-proofing your talent strategy today. Discover how a 4-part framework can help manufacturers move beyond a siloed, static approach and overcome labor shortages to build a flexible, agile workforce. You will learn how to do this. Grow internal skills and talent mobility, flex to appropriately fill gaps, hire the right people at the right time, and augment with IT to unlock more value. Prepare your workforce for whatever the future holds and download the Manufacturer's Guide to a future-ready talent strategy. Right now, there is a link to that in the body copy as well as the live chat. In case you missed it, the story is not as popular on the site, but still stand to make a big impact on the industry going forward. Jeff, what do you have for us this week?
So I picked a video actually that you did. I thought this one was great. It was off Medical Design and Development. It's called Eye Implant is paired with AR glasses and AI to help blind patients read again. I thought this was incredible.
Yeah.
Just going through all this. So researchers from University College London and Moorfields Eye Hospital recently announced the results of a trial for a new device called the Prima device that helps blind not just see again, but also to read. Now, I'll hit the high points here, and you can definitely chime in with more, but essentially they take a chip, they implant it in an individual's eye. They have to wait about a month. And then they hook it up to a computer that actually interacts with the eye and also uses artificial intelligence to retrain a part of the brain to understand what is being seen, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to see all of these different things working together. When we talk about the thing that leads to the thing, artificial intelligence, we have a lot of fears about that. Here's where it's being used in an incredibly just positive way. I mean, just amazing. We looked at augmented reality glasses and where we're using them in factories for maintenance and other things like that, but sort of on the periphery, maybe not the most widely embraced technology. But here we're having it used in this, again, incredible way because this chip hooks up to these, it's a camera on some smart glasses essentially, to help feed the AI to help tell the brain what it's seeing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how all of these different technologies come together to help these folks who have these degenerative eye diseases to basically see and read again.
Yeah.
It's just incredible, the whole story and the success rate that they've had with it. It's amazing. Just this combination of different stuff that we've talked about in different applications coming together for something like this, and just basically has the potential, I'm not saying we're there yet, to eliminate one of the biggest issues with folks as we get older.
Yeah.
My mom's going through a situation right now, and it has been a long process with cataract surgeries and glasses and everything else to try to get to the point where she can do something she loves more than anything, which is to read.
Yeah.
So seeing this type of medical breakthrough, just really amazing stuff. Great story.
Well, and the reaction from a lot of the participants of this study, it was like 38 patients, 84% of which were able to read letters, numbers, and words after this prosthetic vision was installed. Like, I mean, it's crazy what we take for granted, but how they do it. And I will admit, like, so when we redid this report, the first thing I said before I started recording, I was just like, and in case you missed it this week, and I started recording because I'm just like, what a great feel-good story about technology working for all the right things that no one is going to read. And I mean, like,
well, when you first see it, I think one of the reasons is it's like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
What? This is a headline. There's no way it's this good. It is this good. I mean, good things can be true. It can be too good to be true.
Well, and it is wild how, like, so basically they go into your eye, they suck the juice out of your eye, implant this chip in the back of your eye, put the juice back in, let you heal, train you how to see again using this device for a month. And you're right, like, and it's connected to a computer that is basically on your belt, so you can zoom in and out with, like, it reminds me of, like, you know, that switch, like, on those automated recliners where it's just, like, back and forth. It reminds me of that, like, just in, out, you know, pretty simple. And you see how people see the images in front of them, and it's, you know, it's crude, but you can see, you know what you're looking at. And it is incredible. Like you said, these were people specifically suffering from AMD, which is dry age-related macular degeneration. And we even have friends that are younger than us that are suffering from this. And this is basically where the blindness just develops as a black disc in front of you. And it's crazy because it's degenerative. There was no way around to fix it until now. And I mean, it affects like 5 million people globally. Yeah. And we're also not talking about expensive stuff. We're talking about a tiny chip that's 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters. It's so thin, it's like half the size of a human hair. Relatively, I mean, they're draining the juice out of your eye, which is a crazy thing to say, but, relatively easy procedure. And, sometimes when you participate in these studies, it's just like, what? You might be able to give me some vision? Do it!
Yeah.
The only thing is that this company that specializes in it, what was it? Science Corporation, their specialty is brain-computer interfaces and neural engineering. So it's like the whole, what we said about Neuralink, just, all right, looks great. Take her easy. Let's make sure we're doing everything right. And I don't know if you had a chance to check out this story. Mm-hmm. If you were one of the 3 people I at least know that read it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing. And what I thought when I read the headline was that this only applied to reading, but if you watch the full video, they show like a grandmother interacting with her grandchild and being able to see the baby's face.
Yeah, it's huge.
I mean, this is really restoring vision like in a more comprehensive way than even the headline suggests.
Yeah.
So it is worth completely watching this video and reading the article because it's so mind-blowing. My question is, can this technology be applied to different forms of vision loss? Because they only refer to this one degenerative condition.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think that was because if you pick people with all the same condition, then you have sort of a good
control or a baseline.
Yeah, a control sample size.
Yeah.
Baseline sample size. But I believe that's the idea. And you're right. Like it's kind of like someone took a pencil and drew an outline of everything you're looking at.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to describe the image that people see. Like, I mean.
But the difference between like living your life and not, you know what I mean? Like
blackness versus being able to see your grandchild smile.
Yeah.
Like, or I mean, even some of the people that were talking about just every morning they started the day with the crossword and then couldn't anymore. And that was like significant for them to be able to actually complete that again. I don't know. I thought there was like, sometimes we cover these stories and there's some skepticism here or there, but this is just like no notes. You're doing great. And if anything, it would be nice, like as they continue to develop, because it is a little bulky, right? Like you do need the glasses. The glasses do need a camera on them. You do need to control the device with the thing on your hip. You could see how this could all be made smaller, integrated, maybe even having like the AI built into a contact lens. It would be incredible, but like, hey, anything's possible once you get this far. Anna, what is in case you missed it this week?
The story I selected was titled, "This Edible Fungus Could Make Fabric or Paper Liquid Proof." So the first thing I thought when I saw the headline was plastic alternative, and that's exactly what this is. So researchers have reported a way to waterproof materials using edible fungus. They think they could use it as an alternative to like single-use plastic wrap, or maybe that coating that goes inside a paper cup that make those cups no longer recyclable.
Yeah.
So here's what it talks about. It says that fibers made from wood are part of this, but also fungus is produced in a layer that blocks water, oil, and grease absorption. So this is a proof of concept study, and this impervious film grew on common materials such as paper, denim, polyester felt, and thin wood, revealing its potential to replace plastic coatings with sustainable natural materials. So the researchers say that this work is a successful demonstration of what's considered a food-safe fungal coating, and shows that this technology's potential could replace single-use plastic products. I think when you talk about this type of experiment, the biggest question is, of course, scale.
Yeah.
Cost, how much can you produce at once? Can it be stored for a long period of time? Can producing it be automated with machinery? All those questions need to be asked. Those are all fair questions. But a very exciting concept nonetheless, I thought, especially when it comes to the potential for replacing single-use plastic in certain applications where it has a very, very short useful life, and ends up in a landfill, and there's nothing to be done with it. Like cling film, you cannot recycle that, know, but it's useful for 15 seconds, and then
the cup at the bike shop, you get 2 swigs of water, and you're just like, they call your name, and then you got to go, and it winds up in a landfill for a long time. So
it was an interesting, if you get a chance to read the article, it's actually very short, but they do go into a little bit the process of how they make it. And it takes like a couple of days to harden, and then it resists water at that point. Yeah. It's really cool to consider that could come from a mushroom.
Well, and man, when we're talking about documentaries, that mushroom documentary on Netflix too, that'll blow your mind. But they do a really good job of sometimes these studies come out and the visuals they provide are just graphs or charts or like scatter plots. And this one's pretty simple, just like, this is water on paper. Yep. This is water on jeans. Mm-hmm. And this is water on polyester. And it sits there.
It's like a little blob of water. Yeah. Like space water.
Yeah. And so they do a good job of visually telling you the story as well as how they do it. And it's, I don't know, it's incredible. And as we continue to try and innovate new ways to replace single-use plastics, I'm open to all options, right? Because it is a crippling problem that we need to get through. And, we've seen when you talk about, I have similar questions about costs and scale, but I mean, we got to do something. And we've seen more states start mandating the use of these types of materials and products. So one of the technologies has to win. Jeff, is this the type of tech that could win when it comes to food safe, natural film or like a plastic replacement?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think for food, this might get pricey, but when you start looking at the pharma market and different single-use, needles, things like that, other things that need like a single dose application, I think this could be a great option in terms of getting away from a lot of those plastics.
Well, in case you missed it this week, in case you missed it, B was a story about a Lego MRI scanner sets being used to ease anxiety for pediatric patients. I went like, it feels like we must have like collectively thought like, hey man, in case you missed it, it's been a little gloomy lately. Yeah. And it was just like, we're all going feel good.
Full optimistic research.
So up to 30% of people experience some form of anxiety during an MRI procedure, and many of them escalate into full-blown panic attacks. So this and that sample size includes kids. And new research by the Lego Group suggests that its MRI scanner set, you just build an MRI out of Legos, which has been given to more than 1 million children around the world, has actually helped alleviate stress and anxiety that can be experienced during an MRI scan. The set features a scanner, patient bed, waiting room, scanning room, staff minifigures, and medical accessories. It was designed by the Lego Group and the Lego Foundation to help children understand MRI procedures by learning through play. Lego says that 96% of healthcare professionals globally who used the Lego MRI scanner say the model helps alleviate children's anxiety, and that 46% of people report that it has reduced the need for sedation and anesthesia during MRI procedures. I chose this because I thought it was incredible. It was also a good reminder of how you can help cure problems with information and good information in particular, and how good information can be very powerful. Really, when I was reading the story initially, it reminded me of, my son has one of my sons has a lot of anxiety about going to the dentist. And just every time before we go to the dentist, we have a book, and the book is just everything the dentist is going to do, just preparing the person, and it alleviates that stress and anxiety so much that it makes it, much easier, a much different experience. And I think that products like this, created by Lego, really make the world a better place and a safer place for not just kids, but I mean, hey, like if an adult can play with this Lego set, get a little bit more of an understanding as to what they're going to go through, and they don't have a panic attack in that MRI.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's okay. Like, I mean, I don't know if everyone here is taking an MRI, but like when you're in there, you're like, whoa, it's tight, you know? Jeff, I don't know if you had a chance to check out this news from Lego, but I mean, this is, it's a feel-good story.
Oh, it's pretty cool. Lego does so many cool things. I mean, this is just another one. And the fact that it's having this type of impact, I was surprised at the number in terms of how much of an impact it can have with kids, and probably grown-ups as well when you're looking at this. So just a really cool thing. And I guess it'd be more interesting to me, too, in terms of how they came across this or how this strategy was thought out or created. But seeing how you could implement this type of approach into other stressful situations, again, not just for kids, but any type of medical situation, I think it's amazing. And where this could go from here, who knows?
Well, and I think that sometimes this whole idea of learning through play gets a bad rap because that was rebranded as like gamification. And everyone's just like, oh, God, and that translates to like an app and points. And you're like, well, no. Like, but I mean, you're right. Like when we're talking about like 46% of medical professionals saying like, hey, we don't have to dose these kids. We don't have to sedate them in any way. And I don't know. I think that alone, it could not only be like revolutionary for the kids in terms of their stress, but also for the parents' pocketbook.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Jeff. I was wondering like how this all came about, if it was the Lego corporation that we came up with this idea, or if it came from a medical group and that was looking for help in this area. Yeah. But it does make you think like what else could be done? Because there's lots of things that are scary for kids, like they're little, they don't have any perspective on, and like you said, the dentist, I mean, like that can be like a huge source of stress for kids. So how else could this type of approach be applied?
So since 2023, more than 10,000 Lego MRI scanner sets have been donated to hospitals and health professionals around the world. You can't actually buy these sets. They're not available for sale, but instead they are donated to hospitals through the Lego Group's social responsibility team's partners across the globe. That includes Fairy Bricks, Starlight Children's Foundation, and the United Way. Just thought this was an incredible story. And Anna, to your point, just what else could we create a Lego set for? Just to make everyone feel a little bit better at the end of the day. Yeah. All right. Let's do final thoughts before we get out of here this week. Anna, what's your final thought?
This past weekend, it was, I had mentioned last week on the podcast that our twins had a birthday last week. And so we took them for a weekend away, and their sister. Mm-hmm. And
everybody went.
We did not leave her at home. Yeah. We went to their favorite hotel and we did a lot of super fun stuff on the weekend. And I have decided now that I think a fall break is necessary, I think, forever. Yeah. Just like a quick, like long weekend in October. It was great. It just got me through the hump. October is always so crazy, especially when you have kids, because you're like just back at school. There's conferences, Halloween. Yeah. I got these birthdays to deal with. Also, it's just like so much to do. Yeah. It was a nice break.
No, it's good to get away, and like it's sometimes, I mean, for me last year it was like finally spring break where you get away for a little bit of time and you're like, oh, this is good for everybody.
This is what all the fuss is about.
Yeah, we should, and to your point, like maybe do that more often. Maybe recharge the batteries a touch. Yeah. My final thought this week is that at the Today in Manufacturing podcast, one of us celebrated a birthday this week. And it definitely wasn't anyone's fault, whether or not anyone on this panel or in this room maybe missed it by a day. Just a day.
Just a day.
Just a day.
It's not even very much out of 365.
Yeah, accidents happen. And I would say that, like, first of all, for close friends and family, have those birthdays in your calendar with like that 24-hour update. And happy birthday, Jeff.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Sorry we missed that. Everyone wish Jeff a happy birthday at jeff@in.com.
I told Jeff, though, I mean, it's kind of on you. Like, you should have worn like a crown or something to the office. Like,
some sort of pastry. There had to be,
I usually do bring in donuts. I did not do that this year. Just forgot. Yeah. Must be getting old.
Like the birthday Vuvuzuela.
Wow.
Yeah. Everyone's going to know.
Yeah.
even upstairs. No, but my apologies and happy belated birthday again. And you know what? Like, man, I went home and I was just like, Carrie, you're not going to believe this. Ann and I totally forgot Jeff's birthday. She's like, I wished him a happy birthday.
Yeah.
Like, where are you at?
Yeah.
Like, we're a team.
A little help, Carrie.
Yeah. Heads up, Carrie.
Yes.
What's your final thoughts
Appreciate
this
that,
week?
guys. No, after 50 of them, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you can miss it by a day. It's all right.
Okay.
No, I had a great weekend too. Just it was interesting, you know, as the kids get older and stuff, and they were coming back from school to do something this weekend. It was a moment of pause, just how things have changed. What was sort of ironic is the kids are growing up and they're coming back to see me, and we went to an arcade. You know?
Yes.
So of all the things,
We went to an arcade too, so I guess that never
yeah.
changes, huh?
so I guess they're just it's timeless.
Yeah.
Being able to play NFL Blitz and
Yes.
X-Men and all that kind of stuff in the arcade, it was a great weekend. And like I said, it just to put me in the right frame of mind for 50 is kind of a milestone type of birthday.
Yeah.
So it was great.
So I'm approaching the one where I just recently filled out a survey and I realized that next year I'll be the next bubble down. And that was enough for me to be like, I don't want to be that bubble. No.
Well, I think that's like this helped bring me into that perspective. It doesn't feel like a big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest takeaway.
Sure. That's what do they say? Like you're as old as you feel or something like that.
That depends on the day.
day. True. Like I'm going to wake up tomorrow crippled by the nothing I did in my sleep.
There you go.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. Just give us that thumbs up on YouTube. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Anna, Jeff, or David at in.com with email the podcast in the subject line. Subscribe to our daily newsletters. Subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine so you can get a notification whenever we go live. For Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells, I'm David Manti. This is the Today in Manufacturing podcast, and we will see you next week.